everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing a triple review of the all-new Marvel Legends Infinity Saga, Age of Ultron Quicksilver, Avengers Infinity War, Nomad Captain America, and of course, Thor Odin. So we'll get straight into the review and start off by taking a look at what is probably the most anticipated figure out of the entire Infinity Saga so far, that being Quicksilver. Now, Quicksilver here is actually a character that I know many of you guys have been eagerly awaiting for, especially considering that Age of Ultron hit the silver screen almost 7 years ago now. It's probably a little bit over 7 years ago, so it certainly has been a long time coming, but the figure looks fantastic, and I'm actually really glad that they did wait, as he probably wouldn't have turned out this good if we would have gotten him initially back in 2014. You can see that as far as the likeness goes, it is really well done. By far not their best sculpt, but definitely not their worst, and it's certainly on the higher end in regards to likeness. This looks so well done. You can see that in regards to the hair texture, I think the sculpt work looks excellent, as so does the paint. Really well done, and you can see that the 3D printing technology applied to the face sculpt really does look excellent. You can even see here for the beard, you've got all of the individual strands. I just think it's turned out so well. As we take a look here towards the suit, very accurate to what we actually saw in the movie. Very sleek looking, very slender, and really agile. I actually really think this has turned out impeccably well. You can see some nice musculature detailing here for the torso. We've got some really nice paint going on here for the biceps, as well as for the lower section of the forearm, and you can also see some nice electric blue highlights here for the top section. Spinning around here towards the back, you can see more of that blue paint detailing, as well as some silver there, which looks really well done. And I actually think the texture applied to the suit also looks really impressive. You can see that much like the face sculpt, this once again is incredibly accurate to the movie. And as we take a look here towards the hand sculpt, you can see that we've got the running posed fingers on, but I will show you the alternate pair that he does come with in just a second. Taking a look here down to the trousers, you can see the sculpt work on these two has turned out so well. We've even got these almost arrows on the thighs, which look fantastic. And then finally taking a look here towards the trainers, I was really impressed with the sculpt work, as well as the paint with that electric lime green here at the bottom, and of course the grey there, and you've got all of the shoelaces individually sculpted, all looking really impressive. So overall, as far as the sculpt is concerned, this is exactly what I would have wanted from an Age of Ultron Quicksilver. This guy certainly has at least lived up to my expectations, and I'm really impressed with how he's turned out. Now, the articulation on him also is a very pleasant surprise. So for the head, we get a great range looking up. I do believe that it is on a double ball peg, so he can look up to roughly that far, as well as can of course look down. He can tilt side to side, as well as rotate the full 360. Here at the arms, they are merely just on a rotation joint. It would have been excellent to maybe have gotten a butterfly joint, but that's just a minor critique. They can of course hinge out to the sides, I'd say roughly to 90. We get a full rotation here at the bicep, as well as a double joint here at the elbow. And something which is very impressive, at least to me, is that this guy has the pinless technology. You can see for the biceps, we've got no pins there, and we've also got no pins here for where the knee joint's actually attached. So that is superb. We also do get a full rotation here at the wrist, and the wrists can hinge forwards and backwards. We also do get a ball joint here at the waist, which also acts as the ab crunch, so this can crunch forwards, backwards, side to side, as well as of course rotate left to right. And then we also actually get a ratcheted waist joint, so utilizing both of these, you really are able to get this guy into many agile poses. As we move down to the hips, much like the Iron Man Mark III in this wave, he does actually have a drop down hips, which is so cool. It's awesome to see them actually implementing this here on Marvel Legends. As before this wave, this type of articulation was really exclusive to the G.I. Joe Classified series, so that's excellent. You can see you can get the legs kicking forwards that far, as well as kicking back to about that far before it's slightly restricted by the butt. He can of course do the split. We get a rotation here at the thigh, albeit very stiff. The joints on this guy are really stiff, which is good in some regards. We also do get a double joint here at the knee, which can bend way past 90, and then here for the foot, this can pivot forwards and backwards, as well as of course rock side to side. So overall, in regards to detail, sculpt, paint, as well as articulation, Quicksilver, aka Pietro Maximoff, certainly has lived up to my expectations. I think this guy has turned out so nicely, but it doesn't end there. He actually does come with quite a fair few of accessories, some of which that they didn't even have to include. So we do get a pair of interchangeable fisted hands, so you can see here the detail and the paintwork on these I think looks really well, and of course you can just pop that pair off and insert them on, which is really nice. And then we also do get some Ultron debris, so you can see we've got this almost destroyed version of Ultron. We've got this head unit with the neck or the spine attachment, and you can see the detail as well as the paintwork on this looks absolutely fantastic. This has turned out so nice and is really an awesome inclusion. So you can see some fantastic looking detail there. We also do get the main torso region, which has been completely battle damaged. You can see where the arms have been ripped off, where the head would go, and of course where the torso would attach onto the lower section. Just think that also looks excellent, fantastic paintwork. And then we also do get one of the arms of this particular Ultron as well. So you can see there, you've got the wires or the cords severed, And there's some fantastic looking details, some piston detailing. The fingers look all charred and broken. No articulation, so no elbow or swivel joints, but just as far as an actual display piece is concerned, I think this is a really, really nice touch. And then we turn our attention to the Avengers Infinity War Captain America. Now, I'll be completely honest and say that out of all of the figures so far, I think this guy is probably the biggest letdown, and it's all mainly down to his head sculpt. I think that this is really, really bad. It's probably the worst likeness that I've personally seen from the Infinity Saga so far, and it's unfortunate as the original version that we got, I believe, in the original Infinity War Build-A-Figure Wave 2 was an awful likeness, and whilst this is slightly better, I definitely don't think that it is better by much. The only real difference is that we now have the much longer hair, but in regards to the actual facial expression itself, it looks awful. Now, he does come with an interchangeable head, and I'll just very quickly show you that here. You can see that I actually don't think the likeness on this more neutral face is any better than what we've got here on the grinning face, which is really such a shame. I think the best likeness we've gotten from Chris Evans is that pack that came with Peggy Carter, or the one that came with Crossbones, but other than that, I really don't think they've been hitting home with the Chris Evans likeness, which is rather unfortunate. But actually taking a look at the hair sculpt, you can see this has turned out really, really nice, so has the beard, but it's just something a little off. And I also think the body proportions are a little off as well. If I just bring the arms down, you can see how the actual torso does appear to be very thin in comparison to the big, broad shoulders, and the head also seems a little too large. That could just be me, but just taking a look here, you can see this region definitely does appear to be a little on the smaller side. That could just be something that I'm finding an issue with. I'd love to know down in the comment section below on whether or not you guys agree, but the actual detail to the suit looks remarkable. You can see some fantastic looking sculpt work, really nice looking paint work. Even taking a look here towards the back, you've got the straps, or the harness I guess, which has been picked out in a nice shade of lighter and darker brown. We've got some silver, the blue for the suit looks awesome, so did the red highlight, and we also do get an actual pair of shields, whereas on the original version I believe we only got one, and these are much more accurate to the movie, so you can see some lovely silver detailing there. And the same can also be said for this one. You can see some nice detail on the inside of the straps. Taking a look here towards the belt, this too's also turned out really nicely. And then taking a look here down to the lower section of the legs, I do believe we've perhaps seen this particular sculpt before. It does seem familiar. And here for the boots, you can see all of the buckle and braces, which once again I also think's turned out really well. It is really just that head sculpt which I at least think's letting this guy slightly down. Now, in regards to his articulation, the head can look up to that far, definitely not to the best extent. He can also look down, tilt, side to side, as well as rotate left to right. We do get a hinge joint here on a ratchet joint, going the full 360. You can hinge out to the sides, full rotation at the bicep, as well as a double joint here at the elbow. Pinless technology here, which is fantastic. We of course do get wrist rotation, and you can also see that hinge joint for you to bring that in and out. We also do get an ab crunch, which can crunch forwards that far, back that far, as well as a waist rotation. We unfortunately don't appear to get any drop down hips on this guy, which is once again why I believe we've seen this particular sculpt beforehand, as if they were to have completely retooled this, I'm pretty certain they would have implemented some sort of drop down hip. But the leg can kick forwards that far, as well as can kick back to that far before it's slightly restricted by the sculpt. Hinge out to the sides, full rotation here at the thigh, double joint here at the knee, and then here for the boot, this can rotate, as well as the foot can also hinge forwards and backwards, albeit very, very stiff. And then we also do get an ankle rocker pivot. So not an awful figure, but definitely not my favorite. And so far, out of all of the figures I've taken a look at for this Infinity Saga, I'd say this guy is probably the weakest. Now, in regards to his accessories, I'll very quickly show you how the alternate head looks applied onto the figure. It is a better head sculpt in my opinion, but definitely not by much. I personally don't really see Chris Evans in there all that much, which is definitely a shame. And much like Quicksilver, we also do get a pair of fisted hands, which can be easily inserted onto the figure just by simply removing this and of course reattaching them. And then finally, we turn to what is potentially the best single-carded figure out of the entire Infinity Saga so far. Here we've got Odin, and oh my goodness, has this figure turned out terrific. This is excellent, and out of the three that I'm taking a look at in this review, this guy is by far the best. Not only because the likeness is exceptional, but the actual figure itself, the attention to detail and the sculpt work really is impeccable. You can see, bringing him in here for a closer look, I think the sculpt work to the actual crown or the helmet is fantastic. It looks exactly how it did in the movie. You can see some fantastic sculpt work even here towards the back. It has been cast out of a slightly more pliable piece of plastic, but I definitely don't think this is going to warp over time unless you have it in an incredibly hot climate. You can see really nice looking detail here for the front horns. It can be easily inserted over the top of the head, and I'm super glad that you don't have to worry worry about any of the paint from the hair actually scratching. And whilst we've got that removed, check out that Anthony Hopkins head sculpt. Oh my goodness, this is probably one of the best in the line so far. This looks so well done. You can see the grey there for the beard, you've got the eye patch, the scars here on the top of the forehead. I just think this has turned out so well. You can see the texture detail here to the back of the hair, looks fantastic. He too also comes with an alternate head sculpt, which we'll touch base with in just a second, but here for the actual armour of the torso, I think this too's all turned out really nice, fantastic sculpt as well as paintwork, and the cape itself I also think looks really awesome. Sadly for me, I've got some black wash applied over the top, which is a little bit of a shame, but I'm sure I'll be able to easily remove that. You can see some fantastic detail here for the shoulder pads as well as for the biceps, and here for the forearms. I think the detail on the fingers too look fantastic. Taking a look down to the lower section of the suit, you can see here, I think the texture for the thighs looks great, even here for the boots and the feet. Everything is awesome, and we also do get the trident slash staff, which has got some fantastic looking sculpt work and has been cast out of a very similar type of plastic to the helmet, so it has got a little bit of flex to it, but will still retain its shape. And you can see that the sculpt work on that once again really does look excellent. In regards to articulation, the head can look up to that far, so certainly isn't bad, and I also believe the neck is on a ball joint as well, so that certainly does help the articulation. It can tilt side to side as well as rotate left to right. Due to the nature of the cape, the arms are slightly restricted, but they can bend to a range of motion which would allow you to get this guy in pretty much any pose, which is super cool. They can of course hinge out to the sides, full rotation here at the bicep, as well as a double joint here at the elbow, and once again utilizing that pinless technology, which is fantastic. And the same can also be said here for the knee joints. We do get a rotation here at the wrist. This particular wrist can hinge up and down. We do get a ball joint here at the torso, and this also acts as the main waist joint as well, so this can crunch forwards and backwards, not to the best degree, but you can also utilize that waist joint. We unfortunately don't get any form of drop down hips on this guy, but Odin was never really the most agile character, so that's something that I'm not going to complain about too much, and I definitely think that kick forwards is well enough. We also can kick back that far out to the sides, full rotation here at the thigh, double joint here at the knee, albeit on a very stiff hinge joint, and then finally for the foot, these can pivot forwards and backwards, as well as also can rock side to side. So Odin definitely is a run home for Hasbro. I think he's one of the best individually carded figures that we've seen from this line so far, and I just cannot wait to see if they do decide to do a wave 2 of this line, what other figures they could potentially have in store for us. Now in regards to accessories, besides the helmet and the trident slash staff, we also do get an interchangeable head sculpt. You can see the differences are very minor. If anything, the eye patch detail is a little bit more defined on this sculpt, and of course you've got the teeth showing, which is really nice. I guess for those who just want a slightly different expression on him, then this will be really handy just to demonstrate how this pops on and off. You can see the double ball peg, and this simply does just tab over the top just like that, and it actually looks really well done in my opinion. And then we also do get a different pair of hands, so whereas these ones are more for grasping the trident, we get an open palmed hand here with some really nice looking sculpt work, and then we also do get a fisted hand. Here for some size comparisons for the Avengers Infinity War Captain America. You can see that I actually think he scales really well with some of these other figures, especially that worthy cap. They are roughly exactly the same height, which is of course what you would expect. You can see him also compared next to the Infinity Saga Mark 85 Iron Man / Tony Stark, and I think the scale also works pretty decently. And just giving you a more in-depth comparison here between the Infinity War Thanos, I also think that this is definitely the scale that we saw in the movie. Here for a comparison with Odin, we've got the Infinity War Thor, albeit with the Build-A-Figure Bro Thor head sculpt on, just so you can see how these two fare with one another. And here for that Quicksilver size comparison, we've got him compared next to the Age of Ultron, as well as the newly released Disney Plus wave Scarlet Witch. And once again, I think he scales really well with these figures. I just wish that I had more of these in the collection to give you guys some more in-depth comparisons. And so, some final thoughts here for some of these three figures. I think the Quicksilver is a figure that we've been waiting for so long, and it definitely has lived up to the expectations. It's pretty much what I would want from a Quicksilver based on his appearance from Age of Ultron. Hasbro certainly did deliver with him. I think the face sculpt is excellent. The paint and the attention to detail to the actual costume itself is near enough spot on to what we saw in the movie, and I also think he's got some of the best articulation that we've seen from this line so far, due to him now having the more modern drop-down hips. It's really well done. The paint and the sculpt looks fantastic. Great array of accessories, especially in regards to some of those destroyed Ultron components. They're just pieces that they didn't have to include, but I'm super glad they did. As we take a look at the Captain America, I'll be completely honest and say that I think he's the weakest out of the entire Infinity Saga lineup so far. far. I'm just really not impressed with that face sculpt at all. Despite him coming with 2, I think both of them are equally as bad, and I definitely think there are some proportion issues going on with the head and the actual central torso. I just think the head is too large or the torso is too small. It could just potentially be my eyes, but I'm certain that there is a little bit of a problem there, and I'm just not a big fan of this figure overall. The Odin is definitely above average. The detail, the sculpt work, and the likeness to Sir Anthony Hopkins truly is amazing. It's also another figure that's been a long time coming, and I'm once again so glad to add this guy to the collection. He looks awesome, he's pretty much perfect, and I also think he comes with a great array of accessories as well. They didn't necessarily have to package in that alternate head sculpt, but once again, it's a really nice bonus accessory, and of course, we also do get a different pair of interchangeable hands. So overall, definitely really good figures. Besides that Captain America, I would love to know down in the comment section below on what you guys think of these. Will you be adding any of these to your collection? And as always, please feel free to let me know down in the comment section below what figure/figures would you like me to take a look at in the next review. I thank you all for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.